Shemini Blessings family, I want to take the opportunity to speak of an Odu called Osagunda. Real quick, I'm commuting from place to place. There's an interesting story of Osakuleya, Osagunda, that teaches that this is when the prince was advised not to go to the river. It was a taboo because there was a high likelihood chance that he could drown and be taken by the currents of the river. But he disobeyed the advice, and unfortunately, that's what happened. He was drowning in the river. He was pleading for help, saying he'll do anything to be rescued. And a turtle heard him and had ulterior motives and said, "I will help you I will help you if you sign a contract by which you will be working for me for free." He says, "Whatever, I just want to be rescued." So he signed. He was rescued, and then he signed that contract. So symbolically, the prince was inside this gigantic instrument, not seen by the world, and the turtle will visit different empires and kingdoms and do a great exhibition of music. But it was the prince that was singing, and when the kings will pay for that service, the turtle will keep the money and not pay the prince. So this will happen for a long time, and the father was concerned. He hasn't heard of his son, sought Odumila's advice, and Odu popped up and said, "Hey, your son, this is what happened to him. The way to rescue him is to invite musicians to play for you, and you will hire the one that plays the best." So that's what happened. They went there. The turtle also went, and the king said, "Before I announce the winner, leave your instruments here at my empire, and in the following day I will announce the winner." That's how the prince was rescued. More of the story: be careful who you help. Be very careful, because it can enslave you. Also contracts, whether in home loans, anything, even the music industry, businesses. Careful what you sign and not be exploited, right? And the river is always respected. Also, it talks about a person can exploit you, utilizing your intelligence and strength for their benefit, but not for your benefit. Be very careful there. Osakuleya teaches a great story. Once again, the turtle shows up here, but in a different light. This was a fisherman who noticed that people were being abusive with the turtle. They were throwing rocks at him, kicking him around, and the fisherman defended the turtle, and the people stopped bothering the turtle. The turtle, in gratitude, said, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna let you in a little secret. I have the power to live in the water and the land. I'm an amphibian, and it's great. And I can give you that ability. Are you interested in having that ability?" Fisherman, curious, says, "Yeah, I am. So, but I'm gonna give you this bottle. You cannot open. You got to leave it closed." "All right, fine." So he decided to live inside the ocean. He assumed it was a couple days, because before he left, he had a family and children already on the surface of the land. He had friends. The youngest member of that village was 1 year old. So when he was in the water for a long time, he ended up meeting someone else, establishing a new family and everything. And by the time he came up to the surface, 100 years had passed. He knows that the youngest one was 100 years old, over 101 years old. So no one left alive. He decided to come back to the surface, but he couldn't breathe in the water any longer. So he assumed it was the bottle, something with the bottle, right? So he opened the bottle, and a mist came out of it, a smoke came out of it, and it transformed his body, and he became a turtle himself. Moral of the story is, be appreciative of the people you have around you in your circle. Don't leave them behind for a new adventure, because when you want to go back to those people, it's too late. Also, it talks about be careful of crimes committed. This person may be led to commit a crime, helping somebody else, ends up in prison for a long time, and by the time they are released, everyone has passed on already. So be very careful. The third pataki of Osakuleya is a very interesting story about Oya. She was a businesswoman who would work in a marketplace and sell different items and supplies. And she was in a relationship, and doing adulting with her husband or significant other in the privacy of their home. But there came a time when I guess the significant other wanted to change the routine, spice up things, decided to go to her place of business and to be intimate with her, but she forgot to set up the close sign on her entrance of her business. So as they were being intimate, a client came there to buy something, purchase something, and was startled and appalled by what he saw. Was in the act, she was in the act of making love with her man, and she felt so ashamed and embarrassed that her face symbolically turned into a skeleton. Moral of the story is, keep your business and personal life separate, right? This comes in many different aspects. In your place of business where you work, don't share to your coworkers your private life, everything you do with your significant others, things that people doesn't have to know. Also, parents that have children, be careful. You lock your doors because the child innocently could open the door just asking for help, or he can't sleep. He's afraid to sleep alone, and accidentally catch you guys in the act, right? So be very careful there. Osakuleya teaches that a person has a lot of documents, a lot of books, but does not study them. It says to be more organized in your information, your documents, to study and research what you have already. This teaches us about when a person initiates and becomes an Ogun priest, how he's taken out in the forest, certain rituals like that. Also, it says to increase your faith and learn more about the Orishas, because when situations happen that is not in your favor, the person may have a tendency to blame the deities, and can be misled to get rid of them. So be very careful of being misled in that aspect or in that level. This is a very interesting Odu. Osakuleya also talks about a person who asks for help from their elders or a mentor or something like that, and maybe they may not be available all the time, but they try to the point where they just give up, because it talks about where they might have supervisors, managers, people of leadership positions, elders, whatever they can be, who are not 110% with them, so there comes a time when they just give up and get tired and then just move on. Do not take that personally. Keep growing spiritually in your faith, in your religion, right? So also this talks about the anchor and the chain. It's the story by which the boat was lost at sea. It was going further and further away, and the sailor was consulted Oromila, because Oromila, I guess, was in there in the boat. And the old Osakuleya came out where they needed to develop a chain with an anchor. And when they did that, the boat was able to stay still and not move so much. So it says to stay anchored in your faith, is where a person needs guidance from somebody to have structure in a religion. So overall, those are pieces of advice of Osakuleya. It talks about a person may visit them to treat them with respect, so that blessings could always increase in life. This talks about the power of Oya mentioned here, so it's a lot in there, but many blessings, family. And this is in general certain stories of Osakuleya. I was just driving here and there because I'm always working, but I wanted to pause and share that information. All right, Ashe Buru, Iboye Bosheshe.